Now we have a special presentation from the Srimad Bhagavatam about lessons given to the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa. And if you go to the very first slide, we have spiritual intelligence from 24 gurus. And Kṛṣṇa, in teaching to Uddhava, gives a very interesting way to learn about him, about devotional service, through the eyes of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa. Once upon a time, King Yadu was riding with his retinue through a junglous area, otherwise known as uncivilized area, unpopulated, uncultivated. Much to his surprise, he found a lone sadhu in the wilderness. And naturally, as many of you may have experienced, if you're traveling in a wilderness area and you see another person, it's customary to say hello. And one might feel compelled to do so because when you see another person in a lonely place, you might wonder what they're doing there and also have an interest in talking to them. So Yadu, in discoursing with this person who apparently lived there in the wilderness, could understand that he was a self-realized soul. What's one way that Kṛṣṇa mentions in the Bhagavad Gita that you can understand if somebody's self-realized or not? I'll take my answer on the chat board. One way you can tell if a person's self-realized or not. You got 10 seconds before I start calling on people. 10, Kṛṣṇa 9, Kṛṣṇa 8. These are fast seconds too. Kṛṣṇa 8, Kṛṣṇa 7, Kṛṣṇa 6, Kṛṣṇa 5. If they see Kṛṣṇa everywhere, nope. Control the senses, yeah, but what's the very specific way you can tell if they're peaceful and detached and if they're controlled their senses? Something very tangible. Kṛṣṇa 4, Kṛṣṇa 3, Kṛṣṇa 2, Kṛṣṇa 1. They're all okay answers, good answers even, but the answer is by how they speak. Because as Prabhupada mentions in his purport to the first verse in which Kṛṣṇa describes what a self-realized person's characteristics are, he says, a fool is not discovered until he speaks. And if you hear somebody speak, then you can understand what the level of their consciousness is. So a self-realized person speaks. According to another commentary, which I'll now quote from Evamvrita swapriya nama kirtya jatana rago juta chuta uchar asatyato rautiti rauti gayati and manavam nrititi lokabaya. In this verse, we hear a description of a person who takes a vow to chant Hare Krishna everywhere and anywhere, and whose heart then becomes melted and attracted to a particular form of Krishna. Such person then becomes like a mad person, doesn't care for outsiders. Now there's a relevant instruction, because if you're going to talk about how somebody's self-realized or not, you have to have verifiable evidence. Somebody put the word verify up in the chat box with the etymology. If I say to you, oh, you should have been here a half an hour ago, I was just dancing with Krishna, prove that I wasn't, what will you say? I mean, what can you say? This person's a little unhinged, maybe, but you can't prove that I wasn't. But there are verifiable ways, which comes from early 14th century, verifin, prove to be true, confirmed by reality. And one of the verifiable ways is how a person speaks. Is their speech related to the absolute truth? And is it merciful? And the other aspect that's verifiable in the life of a person, whether you can tell, how you can tell if they're advanced or not, is their steadiness. Because you either show up or you don't, right? And those who are feeling some ecstasy in their heart, they show up for all their spiritual duties. In fact, they don't even consider them duties because they're so inspired to do them. So King Yadu could understand that this person is a self-realized soul by hearing what that person, the Avadhūta, means somebody who's not attached to anything in this world, was speaking. And in this chapter, in this section, Krishna is teaching Uddhava about spiritual intelligence. And I'm going to tell you something that might be life-changing in a positive way. So if you don't want that to happen, cover your ears and turn off your sound. And that is, he says that one's own intelligence can become a shiksha guru. If you refine your intelligence, then your own intelligence, which is actually directly coming from the Supersoul, can become your shiksha guru. So in this section, Krishna talks about spiritual intelligence, and he gives these examples from the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa. Now, here's how the story unfolds. Yadu, being amazed that there was somebody even surviving in the wild like this, what to speak of a self-realized personality, said, "How did you become enlightened?" And the Brahmana answered, "Well, I have all my gurus here." How many gurus did he have? Pop quiz. Yes, Rian.
24.
Okay, you get 50 points. Congratulations. Save them. You can use them for rewards at our gift shop later. So he had 24 gurus, and he began to describe who these gurus were. Before we go to that, let me remind you of how urgent the process of self-realization is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva tells us the story of Maharaj Kṛṣṇa. Maharaj Kṛṣṇa, Brajrata Brahman, are you watching me? Maharaj Kṛṣṇa. Maharaj Kṛṣṇa, no. There. You thought that meant we were almost finished, but it's a story. Maharaj Kṛṣṇa, we're not to the 24 gurus yet. Maharaj Kṛṣṇa was a great warrior king. He fought on behalf of the demigods for many years, celestial years. And the demigods offered him a benediction. They said, "What would you like?" Bhakti-Nitai, if the demigods offer you a benediction, what would you ask for? Right now. Answer quick.
Lord, always remember Krishna's lotus feet and always remember him.
All right, you're in the group of pure devotional service. Okay, so Maharaj Kṛṣṇa asked, I like that, Bhakti-Nitai. Maharaj Kṛṣṇa asked, "How much longer will I live?" And they said, "You got about a minute left." And so Maharaj Kṛṣṇa immediately took shelter of Krishna in that last minute. And that brings us to one of the important concepts. For those who are transcendentalists, Prabhupada said, a materialist thinks I will live forever. I mean, technically, that's true because the soul never dies. But in this body, in this lifetime, they don't care for the future because they think they may live for many millions of years, especially if they run on the beach and breathe fresh air and drink or eat organic food. But a transcendentalist, Prabhupada said, thinks I could die at any minute and takes every moment to be important. So time is our most important asset. And then it comes to being purposeful in this world. Intelligence, spiritual intelligence brings us to not only understand the value of our time in this world, but also how everything that happens to us is meant to refine our consciousness. Everything that happens to us is meant to refine our consciousness. In that sense, the whole world is a schoolhouse. It's meant to teach us something very valuable so we can become the best versions of our spiritual selves. And in some ways, we are the students in this universe. And when we have what's called deliberate spiritual intelligence, which Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, otherwise known as DSI, when we refine our intelligence so that we're using it for the highest purpose of life, then it becomes deliberate. Everything we interpret on the basis of how I can refine my intelligence. And we perceive the lesson in everything that happens to us. So this section of the Bhagavatam, which is Krishna's teaching Uddhava, goes through this story of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa, and Krishna gives this summary of what can happen when one develops deliberate spiritual intelligence. Krishna says, an intelligent person, expert in perceiving the world around him and in applying sound logic, can achieve real benefit through his own intelligence. Thus, sometimes one acts as one's own instructing spiritual master. And speaking about the Avadhūta sage, who is a learned and gentle person, the Avadhūta says, I don't consider the 24 elements of the physical world as objects of my sense gratification. Therefore, I don't accept or reject them. Rather, I accept them as my instructing gurus. Thus, although I wander throughout the material world, I am never bereft of service to the guru. I take shelter of steady intelligence. Everyone considers certain things within the material world to be most dear to him or her, and because of attachment to such things, one eventually becomes miserable. One who understands this gives up material possessiveness and attachment and thus achieves unlimited happiness. It doesn't mean one gives up the things necessarily, but it means one gives up attachment to them. And then he started giving a list of his gurus, much to the amazement of Maharaj Yadu, because Maharaj said, Yadu thought, who is there in this wilderness area who could be your guru, who you're taking shiksha from? And the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa then begins the list. The list includes the elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, astral bodies, the sun, moon, ocean, flies and insects, the moth, the honeybee, spider, wasp. Who would like to have a spider as a shiksha guru? Does anybody here secretly have a shiksha guru who's a spider? I do. I'll tell you about him later. Honeybee, better for you, Arya? She was quite demonstrative about not wanting a spider. Or a wasp. How about a wasp? Be your shiksha guru. Then there's birds, the pigeon and the hawk. Then there's animals you can learn from as your gurus: python, elephants, deer, fish, a snake. And human beings: the honey thief, Pingala, child, young girl, arrow maker, and the human body itself. After all, we live in a human body. So what if that became a teacher to us to show us the absolute truth? So going through some of the teachings of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa, when he pointed to Maharaj pointed out to Maharaj Yadu that his Shiksha gurus were there with him right then. He talked about the earth itself, and he mentioned that the earth shows the art of tolerance. And does anybody remember in the Bhagavad Gita any place Krishna advocates that we learn to be tolerant? This is for 50 points. You got to keep up with Rian. He already got 50. He can use it at gift shops around the world. Where in the Bhagavad Gita, Rifik, does Krishna, and no using AI anybody, can talk about, where Krishna talks about tolerance? Rifik, do you have, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think 2.14 in the Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Payino Nityaha Tamsi Tikshvasva Bharata.
Translation.
The translation is, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense precipitation, O Sion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Arya.
I have yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamaivetti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. It's 8.6 and it means if you're dying and if you think of God, then you can go to it. So you have to tolerate death.
Whoa. You guys are on a tear here. Ripvik, Arya, nicely done. Arav, bring the representative for the whole Atlanta area. Let's bring honor to all the devotees in Atlanta.
Hey Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The verse I was thinking about was Bhagavad Gita 12.13 till 14, which is Advaishta Sarva Bhutanam Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samadukka Sukha Kshami Santushta Satatam Yogi Yatatma Dirda Nishchayaha Mayarpita Mano Buddhir Yo Madbhakta Same Priyaha. Sorry, the translation. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with the determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me.
You all are so expert finding these verses one after another. Save it, Rifik. I'm going to come back later. I got to keep going because we're running out of time. So the earth is tolerant. And as you mentioned, there are various elements we have to tolerate in this world, isn't it? The body exposed to heat and cold, the mind, happiness, stress, the ego, respect, humiliation. How hard is it to tolerate being humiliated? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest thing. 10 takes a lot of tolerance. So the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa, of course, he didn't say this, but we have the way of forgiving people, hate the sin, not the sinner. It's a higher-minded principle. And the Avadhūta brings us to, or brought Maharaj Yadu's attention to, one of his specific gurus on the earth, the mountain. So the mountain provides tons of habitat for all kinds of living entities who don't really acknowledge the mountain necessarily. And then the mountain delivers crystalline water that comes flowing down from the mountaintop and supplies everyone with refreshing water and habitat and earth which many plants can grow. It's a real giver, and it's dedicated constantly to the welfare of others. And so one of the implications of the mountain and its dedication to others is how a transcendentalist, said the Avadhūta, dedicates his or her life to doing good for others. And now for 100 points, 100 whole points, good at ISKCON gift shops anywhere in the world. What is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in which Krishna says one should dedicate one's life to doing good for others? I'll give you 5 seconds. And I'll give you a hint, though. It's in your batch from the 10th canto. Yeah, you better find it. Otherwise, how are you going to recite it next month? 5, 4, 3, 2. The offer will end at 0, 1. Maitli, do you have your hand up? Go ahead.
I think I was thinking of a different verse, Maharaj, but I was thinking of the Venukampa Susamikshamanam, but I don't think that's it.
No points for that one. Keep going, Manya and Adri. Where is it?
Is it 10.8?
Say it.
Venukampa Susamikshamanam.
No. No points.
Well,
Dedication to others. Krishna says, that's Brahma.
10.8,
Yes. Huh? What?
10.8.4. Mahat Vichalam Niram Grihinam Dina Chetasam.
You're getting warmer, but that's not the verse. Krishna tells his friends that you should dedicate your life to others. Rifik, this better be good.
I think it's 10.9.38. Maya swapneshu jandunam anugratam evacha kripamayoyam jagadanandaha purnaf prema pradayakaha.
Translation, please.
The translation is, this cosmic manifestation is full of mercy and meant to be a benefactor of all living entities who are bewildered in illusionary energy. It is full of love and compassion. Kṛṣṇa explains that the universe and its pastimes exist to show mercy and compassion. That's what my takeaway from this verse.
Well, it's a nice verse, and it's from the Bhagavatam, but it's not what I'm thinking of. Come on. Where is it? Okay, Arya's got it. This better be good, Arya. Go for it.
Isse karma nyevadhikarasте ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuः ma te sangosva karmani. If it means if you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to the inaction.
I'll give you 10 free points for enthusiasm, but that's not the verse. Manda, did you find it or not?
We're still looking, Gurma. Just to clarify, it's persons who have dedicated their life.
Yes, that you should do good works for people with your body, mind, your words, diya vacha. Okay, I'm moving on. You find it later. So the next guru I'd like to introduce you to of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa. Would you like to meet one of his gurus? The tree. Did you ever look at a tree as your guru? Anybody? Come on. The next time you got to go over and pay obeisances, because the tree is the guru of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa. The tree, we already know this, right? From which verse that Lord Chaitanya spoke? Did he talk about a tree? Go ahead, Madhuri Saki. Hand halfway means you got to go for it.
Chunadipi Sunichena.
Don't ask me a question back. Just say it.
Chunadipi Sunichena. Therapi Sahishna. Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Okay, what's the tree part?
The tree part is one should be more tolerant than a tree.
Very good. Okay, did you find it, Manya?
Yes.
Go for it. Say it.
14.3. Jnane
No,
prayasamudapas.
no, 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 no. That's not it. So the tree, it provides shade. It provides what else as a servant? Yes, Arya.
Fruit.
Fruit, yeah. Anything else? Shelter. What else? Arav.
Did we say air?
Hey, that's a good one. Nobody said there, but Giridhari said wood, and that's true too. Okay, now you got it, Brajaras Bhavana. Say the verse, because you found it.
एतावज्जन्म साफल्यं देहिनाम् इह देहिषु प्राणेरर्थैर्धिया वाचा श्रेय आचरणं सदा. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words.
Doesn't that fit perfectly? Krishna said that. Dedication, art of dedication. So the tree, he said he learned how to do selfless service for others. Even if somebody cuts the tree down, then it says, okay, use my wood now. It goes on. And then he talks about the air. Even Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita. See, air doesn't mix with anything. If you did a scientific experiment, a highly placed physics class, let's say at what's the best school in the world? UC Santa Cruz. You're at UC Santa Cruz and you do an experiment in the laboratory. You bring some mud from outside and then you inject air into it. And then what would your scientific study show based on this idea of detachment and how the air teaches us some lesson about how to be in the world? Go ahead, Anapayani Bhakti, even though it's from your rival school.
So the question was, what does the air teach us?
You go to your laboratory in the best school in America, which is UC Santa Cruz. Then you go and nobody's going to argue with me on that. Then you go and you get some mud, you bring in a big pot of mud, and then as your physics experiment, you inject air into it. And what findings could you make to say how it relates to this teaching of the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa about detachment?
So the air never changes. Its quality remains intact and doesn't get polluted by the mud or any substance around it
Why not?
because it's detached.
And it never mixes.
Mixes with
It never actually mixes with it. So there's a way that, I mean, the soul's in the material nature, we actually never mix with it. We're always separate. Proof from the Shastra, asango hyayam purushaha. The Vedas say, little jiva, you never mix with this world. You don't even belong here. Why don't you move along? So the Avadhuta, just by observing the air and seeing how it goes everywhere, but it doesn't technically mix with anything at all. So similarly, we as souls, I mean, practically, let's talk practically, shall we? Have you ever felt some sense of anxiety from being in the world? Anybody at any level? Is there anybody here who hasn't? Arna, you never felt any anxiety at all, ever? You've always just been smiling like that, happy, never disturbed, even when you were a baby. Okay, so yes, we find all kinds of inconvenient situations and so forth. But what if we remember this teaching of the Avadhūta that, hey, I'm not really part of this world. I heard somebody the other day talking about how, well, when I really think about it, this Earth planet is just the size of a tiny little pebble compared to all these gigantic planets, and we're a huge universe. We're only here for a few seconds in cosmic time, and we don't really belong to this energy whatsoever. He said, I stopped taking all these problems so seriously. They don't annoy me as much. Ryan, what do you got for us?
Related to the Harvard school, I think Harvard in Boston is like the best school.
You want to call Harvard the best school?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm arguing with you. It's once in a lifetime.
Ryan, you are a riot. Okay, let's do a few more lessons. Spiritualists are not attached to anything not related to Krishna. True or false? True spiritualists are not attached to anything not related to Krishna. True or false? Haridas, explain your answer. Thumbs up emoji is legal in Canada, so we're going to count it. And now tell us why you said that.
I'd say a spiritualist is on his way back to Godhead. So, on the path of devotional service, there's nothing that can demotivate a spiritualist basically if his mind is fully attached to Krishna. And as we saw before the previous slide about air, so it was showing that it is detached in all circumstances. So, similarly, spiritualists, because they're spiritual, they're not attached to anything material in this world.
Baba, you are articulate. I hate to break it to you, but you speak nicely. Well done, sir. Arav, bring home some honor to Atlanta.
Hare Krishna. Spiritualists, they practice a thing called yukta vairagya, where they're able to be detached from everything and at the same time use everything in service of Krishna. So they become more attached to Krishna and they're able to use everything to serve him.
Shastrically based, very succinctly put, nicely done. Now, if you want 200 points, quote the verse.
I need to find it. I forgot what it was.
That's right. You should have it at the tip of your brain. Now that you're young, learn all these verses all the way through. You should know all of them. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchate prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshavi prutyagyo vairagyam palgukatyate. This verse, given by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, proves your point. The way that you made an excellent point and you said it very nicely. Then just add this at the end. Find it, memorize it. It says that whatever there is in the world can be used for Krishna's service. And when you see everything and you use everything in Krishna's service, that's true renunciation. If you give up things that can be used in Krishna's service out of a sense of false renunciation, that's called Falgu Vairagya, based on the Falgu River in Gaya, where it looks dry, but when you put your hand in the soil, you find the river runs underground. So in a similar way, people who renounce the world still have attachments deep within their hearts. But those who use everything in Krishna's service are perfectly situated in renunciation. Nicely done. And we have time for one more. Wind. It carries things, but it's not attached. Same as air. I lied. I'm going to do a few more because I want to get to one that's one of my favorites. The sky also teaches the art of detachment. Now, water, the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa said about water that it's just like, now the language I'm using here is spiritualist because I was showing this at a corporate level. So I didn't say devotees or sadhus or something like that. But if you go to the next slide, it says spiritualists purify others through their association. So what do you do when you get contaminated? You touch water, right? Say yes. Then Just as water is transparent, so are pure devotees. Transparency means just like glasses, they show you what's on the other side. Their lives are transparent. And thirdly, water makes a pleasing sound. And similarly, the transcendentalist makes a pleasing sound. So it's amazing that the Avadhūta Brāhmaṇa saw water and he thought of a pure devotee. He thought, when you come in touch with a pure devotee, you get purified. When you sit and listen to a pure devotee, you hear a pleasant sound. And he said the pure devotee also is transparent, illuminates Krishna in your life, or shows you Krishna through the lens of his or her teachings about Krishna. And now, because we've come to the end of our time, we made it through 3/4 of the first part of the 24 gurus. And now we'll take a lightning round of reflections. It means a quick reflection in 2 sentences or less of anything you're taking away from today's Youth Jam. 3, 2, 1, go. Two sentences, Giridhari. Prabhu, tell us what you're taking away from today. An impression, a concept, an idea, and make it quick. You got 10 seconds.
I just joined like I guess like 10 minutes ago. I feel like how like everyone spoke like very nicely, I guess. And yeah, that's all. That's much I have to say since
I like that.
yeah.
As a nice reflection. I felt the same way. Go ahead, Haridas.
Hey
Mr. R,
Krishna Maharaj.
go for it.
So I was thinking how like it's kind of a nice point how water is also pure, and at the same thing, like spiritualists are also pure and they speak pleasingly, and they're always speaking about Krishna, and similarly the water also flows and the sound is pleasing. So I was going to take away that point of
I
what we
like
should
it.
learn from spiritualists and water.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Manya Adri.
What we took away was that there's no fun in complaining, but we can look around and learn from anything around us because everything connects to Krishna.
That's right. Don't complain, chant. Rifik.
I really like the point of dirt and air. What I also took away something from that. When it was more like a non-materialistic person and a materialistic person, I thought of it being a devotee completely indulged in Krishna versus a devotee not completely indulged. So the devotee who is completely indulged would probably be the air who's unfazed, and the one who's not completely indulged would probably be something like water, who would just sink down into the soil.
I see. Extending the metaphors, are you?
Yeah.
Very good, Rifik. Okay, Arav and then Arya, and then we're out. You two get the final word, which is a big deal.
Hare Krishna. In the Prabhupada Lilamrit, Prabhupada was printing his books, and they said that he had all the resources he needed to go back to God and himself, but he wanted Srimad Bhagavatam to go to the world so everybody else could be cured of the illness.
I like how you picked that out. That's really nice, Arav. Arya, it's down to you.
You shouldn't be attached to anyone except for Krishna.
Yeah, anyone but Krishna or anyone related to Krishna, especially, because those who are related to Krishna, as we were talking about this morning, devotees, they're especially purifying to be attached to such great personalities. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Sorry I joined late. I was in another program on the dark side of the moon and I had to make it home. And I finally did. And I'm glad I did. It was a rousing session today, don't you think? A lot of fun. It moved from one thing to the next. And we got our Chad done. We read properly Lamrita. We recalled verses. We heard about a few of the 24 gurus. There's many more to come. And I thank the organizers of this program headed by, as far as I know, Brajarath Bhavana and Anapayani Bhakti, are rolling this out, making sure it's going. So many of you, actually. Tunga Vidya, I know that when other things are happening, and many of you, I'm sorry I started a list that I can't finish, but all of you who are engaged in keeping this transcendental vibration going is having a huge impact on the world, because wherever Krishna Katha is spoken, Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham Strin Punatihi Vaktaram Prachakam Shrotrims Tatpada Salilamyata. Just like the Ganges, it comes down and it purifies the three worlds. So the same way, anywhere where somebody's speaking Krishna Katha, it purifies three people. One is the speaker, the second is the listener, and the third is everybody else in between. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. If you so desire, please bless everybody who joined Youth Jam today, everyone who almost joined, everyone who forgot to join, and everyone who will join in the future, that they always hear and chant Krishna's glories and remain happy by taking a little prasadam and having some service to do and a place to lie down at night. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry about the big controversy between UC
Hare Krishna.
Davis and Santa Cruz and Harvard. I didn't mean to bring up a contentious issue anyway. Hare Krishna. Uh-oh, Georgia Tech. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Krishna.
Krishna.